What is up, everybody, and welcome into the Backliners podcast. Aggro and BaRRaCCuDDa as per usual, but this week we have a very special guest on the show. It's SSG Pookie, a member of the management team over at Spacestation Gaming. Super excited to have him along. Before we get into it, though, I just got to let you know that this week's episode of the Backliners is presented by Factor Meals. Check out go.factor75.com/backliners130 to save $130. What a steal that is. Pookie, thanks so much for coming on, man. Super excited to have you. I know that you were saying that, you were thankful to come on the show, but I think that you're going to be, we haven't had anybody from an esports organization management on the show quite yet. And I think that it's such a core part of esports. Everyone knows about all these orgs and that kind of stuff, but I don't think anyone really knows what it's like to run an org and what it's like to watch players that you signed compete and all that kind of stuff. And so I think that I'm really excited to get your perspective on it. So thanks so much for coming on, man.
Hey, super excited to be here. Yeah, it's just a surreal experience. Kind of started and grew up in Smite. That's like where we found the first people to take a risk on us as an org. And so we're like super grateful, and sucks that we're not in it, man. We want to be back. So hopefully somehow in the future we get orgs back in. But yeah, it's just like, it's like Optic and like Call of Duty. Like, it's just like, it's just like how Smite is for us. It's just like, just want to be part of it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure we'll be getting into, the current structure a little bit and all that kind of stuff in a little bit. But you said you kind of got started in Smite and that it was one of your first big loves as a gamer. So kind of give the general fans out there, could you give them a little background on how you got started in Smite and how that kind of translated into Space Station?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I really suck at like this talking stuff. So I actually put down some notes in my Slack, like the whole kind of story. How I got started.
Man.
So
that's adorable.
Yeah, I want to come prepped and ready.
That's more. Whatever you did was more prep for this podcast than BaRRaCCuDDa and I have done combined in the last like 6 months.
Yeah, I did have Destiny write the questions last episode.
That is literally true. I asked him to write questions and he had Destiny do it.
Oh man.
Sorry, Pookie.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're good, dude. So I could kind of give a little bit more background. Space Station Gaming's founder, Sean Duras, is like a social media influencer. But anyways, I grew up like just like a normal friend, like before all of this ever started. We skateboarded, we played Call of Duty together. Like we played, okay, here's another story. We played on the Wii U, and there was like, we took it super sweaty, got super competitive. There's probably like 300 people. So it was just really fun to like, you just run into the same people every time. Mm-hmm. And so it's probably like you experience like a high-end rank, but like people who suck at Smite, like I just don't come across that. Like I don't come across like the same people. Like it just doesn't happen. So
sure. I
think that's kind of where I like fell in love with like that, like just kind of that feeling of like esports. But anyways, all through that time of like us kind of just goofing off being friends, Sean was a rep for DC Shoes, Neff, like skateboard clothing brand. So he would travel all across like Western United States, and he would just kind of Snapchat his journeys while he was going. And so that kind of took off and kind of grew a little audience there. And just like we remained friends. And over the next couple of years, as we started playing Smite and fell in love with it, like we really just kind of fell in love with it as fans initially, like before esports even started for us. And his kind of little social media career had taken off. And then we saw like in 2017, I think Soar had dropped Jigs' team and they became Monkey Madness. And I said, Sean, like you're seeing like the success on social media of building community, running brand deals, kind of like that start of like the influencer phase. Like what if we like took that and tried to apply it to esports, and like this could be our first attempt at it. But like kind of that was our big pitch. It was like Jigs, Vedium, Homie, Andister, Final K. Like that's such a dope roster.
Oh
right?
yeah,
like,
that's a stacked team, dude. That team was really good.
Like yeah, like that's our first entry into esports. Like that's a sick roster to pick up. Like we were so excited, and that was kind of our pitch. Was like we didn't feel like orgs like had like content that was like funny and engaging with the community and like inside jokes, and that's kind of where we came in and thought we could make a difference. Is like kind of understood that community building a little bit more coming from the YouTube space, and yeah, those guys kind of took the risk on us, and I think just from there it took off, and we'll just always be grateful for it. But anyways, yeah, now I'm a content director for the org, so I just kind of ideate and like help come up with the ideas when we announce teams or have to do partnership videos or like kind of like our brand voice and direction on social media. So that's kind of where I'm at now. But yeah, all started in Smite and just have always loved it. And we still play to this day all the time. We'll play at lunch break and stuff. So
that's
awesome,
a good time. Man.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I mean, the team has grown to do incredible things. I mean, world championships and other esports and that kind of stuff. And obviously really, really awesome to see. From, BaRRa, I want to ask you a question about this in a minute, but I think it'd probably be best to start with Pookie. What, in your opinion, Pookie, is an organization's role for an esports team? Like, what is an org supposed to provide to a team?
I think it kind of depends on org to org, but I would think bare minimum for a competitive team, like you need to provide like a fair salary of whatever the ecosystem of that org is at the time. Give them equipment to like perform at the level that they need to perform at, and like depending on the league or what's set up, like housing and like help managing all of those expectations. And then along with that, like I don't want to like toot our own horn, but every game we've ever entered, like we wanted to treat it like it's a tier 1 esport. So we like, why be in a game if we're not going to promote it like as well as we can each game? So we try to take that approach with everything as well. So I think an org owes a team that as well.
Yeah. BaRRa, from your perspective as a longtime player, I mean, you played under a lot of orgs, some small, some really big like Cloud9, some really awesome like Spacestation. What from your perspective, what do you think is the most important thing that an org provides for players?
I kind of like, it's different org to org, because there's some orgs where I'm like, please don't talk to me. And there's some orgs where I'm like, I enjoy doing content for, and then there's some orgs where I'm like, just pay me a salary and like that's all I want. And it's weird from my journey of orgs, because we started on like Exertus Esports, which I don't even know if that's still their name anymore. But I was
still
just
a thing? I'm looking it up.
I don't know.
Yeah, keep doing your thing.
But back then it was like mouse and keyboard and like peripherals, and if I get an org that would give me peripherals, I was like, holy, like this is sick.
That was a big deal.
Like, yeah, like even like any kind of sponsor that they had was like, oh my gosh, like I'm like signed by them and they have like this as a sponsor. Like that's so cool. And then once we joined COG, it was like baby salary, and I was like, this is sick, this is awesome. And then Cloud9 was also baby salary. and it just kind of like grew from there. And yeah, there's some orgs where I'm like, I would prefer to be just like coworkers with, I guess, and just kind of keep it like a work relationship. And then I guess it started with like Spacestation. Like Spacestation is definitely my favorite org of all time, because it's more family oriented, I guess, and feels more, it doesn't feel businessy, I guess. And as a person who hates business stuff and anything business related, just talking about like money or talking about like deals, I hate all of that stuff. And talking to Spacestation doesn't feel like that. It feels very homey and comfortable. So it just depends on like org to org, like what their job should be, I think, for the players as well. Because I mean, to give Spacestation as an example, Spacestation loves doing content, but some players are not okay with doing content, or they're like going to be awkward in the content, or they can't come up with their own ideas.
Some players
like,
will be awkward during
it's
content.
Like 90% of players, and it's like it's bad sometimes.
It's
like the
tough,
stuff you can
man.
like, you can't ask certain things. Like it's fine, like that's not what the players are there for, definitely. But like for sure, like when you have a player that's good at content, like an org loves that and just eats that stuff up, dude.
Yep. Yeah, I can empathize with that. Doing a lot of, planning a lot of content and executing a lot of content for the SPL.
Oh yeah,
like
I guess
in-house stuff.
I feel bad for both of you guys, and I didn't think about your side of it, Aggro.
Man, sometimes, it all depends on the day too. Like sometimes there are people who, if you catch them in a good mood or in the right zone, then it's gonna be really good. Other times it's like, man, I remember when we, like, during the pandemic, we started doing those, like, one-on-one in-depth player interviews over webcam as a way to create content. And I really liked doing those things. I think that's some of my favorite content to consume and also create is more, I mean, the Roster Apocalypse doc was something that I worked on super hard and really enjoyed, and I really like that more long-form stuff. The players who were into it, I thought it was awesome. The players who were less into it, whether with me or with someone else, those are the tough ones where you're like, okay, this was slated to be 30 minutes of content, and I've done all of my questions in 7. What do I do? Like, what is going on here?
So what's your favorite color?
Yeah, exactly. That's where all of our random questions of the week come from. Those are all filler questions that I've used for players over the years. Not actually though. Yeah, I remember. I can speak a little bit about. I was in the Russian egg doll of Smite, which is a small scene in general in comparison to other tier 1 esports, especially back then, season 2, season 3 when I was competing. And then I was in the SCL, the Smite Console League, so it's an even smaller portion of an already small esport at the time. And I remember dealing with a lot of orgs who were not great. I'm out of the game now, so I feel I'm happy to name and shame. It doesn't affect me at all in any way. I was captain.
I'm right there with you.
I was captain of 2 Elevate teams at LANs, including Worlds, and never got a jersey. But it was gonna be there, man. They couldn't believe that it didn't show up in time.
No, here's the thing though. Like I've heard from Jeff back in the day, like. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but well, I'll just say in org he was on, like he just wanted to leave because like they couldn't do something as simple as send them merch from the warehouse. Like how easy of an ask is that?
Yeah.
And how do you not take care of your players like at that basic of a level? Like you're literally signing them to represent you. Like you can't even send them the stuff to represent you. Like that's got to feel so bad as a player. Oh man.
Yep. I mean,
like
in the same thing for SOAR. I was captain of the SOAR team. Went to a LAN. We got T-shirts that did have our names on the back. And then I went to another LAN where I was casting and asked SOAR if they wanted me to wear my jersey. And they said, no, we're still working on jerseys for you guys, but you could wear the T-shirt if you want. And I was like, no thanks. I'm good on that. I have more Space Station stuff because Pookie's the homie than for Elevate or SOAR, who I played on for over a year combined between those two teams. So the difference between a good org and a bad org is
it's astronomical.
It's astronomical.
That's the thing is like I can send you a $15 hoodie like at our cost, and you're gonna wear it on streams, and we're gonna get so much publicity of that, and you're just stoked because you got to hook up from what is a very minimal cost from us. So
yeah, it's just so many. Yeah. I mean, it's the same across so many businesses. You hear about bosses who would rather save a dime than make a grand. You know what I mean? Like you're so worried about cutting these little costs and that kind of stuff. But at the same time, before I joined Elevator SOAR, when I was on a team that I literally just created with my IRL friends and some people we met online, and we went to our first LAN, we were under an org called Aware Gaming. And it was literally one dude who just had some extra income and loved esports. His tag
sounds
was
like Sean, man.
Yep, and he was the best org owner I ever played for. Cool guy. We were going to MLG New Orleans. He he covered our travel costs because it wasn't guaranteed. That was to qualify to the SCL, so everyone had to cover that themselves. He covered our hotel and our flights.
Jeez.
And was there, and we didn't have a salary with them or anything like that, but that was like the deal, is that he would cover our LAN costs and send us some merch every once in a while and all that kind of stuff. And he was just a good dude, and I've got so much respect for that guy, and really appreciate obviously what he was able to do. I don't know if I would have been able to go to the LAN And if I didn't go to that LAN, then I wouldn't have made the SCL. And if I didn't make the SCL, I wouldn't have been able to cast when we didn't make it, and I wouldn't have gotten this job. So, you know, obviously I think that he set me up for a lot of great success without really knowing it. And I think that as a player, it's really easy to just be like, oh, whatever, I'm just going to go with the org that gives me the most money, which is obviously a huge part of it. But being on an org that you don't have to stress, like, oh, you know, are they going to pay me on time? Are they going to ask me to do something last minute and not send me the stuff that I need in order to get it done and all that kind of stuff? Or are they going to be easy to work with and just have my back and not have to worry about it? I think it actually does impact performance of that team, because you know, you need to be able to not stress about your day-to-day little things. It's the same for every job. It's not just esports. Like, if you're stressed about little things, then your day-to-day performance is going to suffer. And I think that that's something that, until you're in it and you're in that industry, and you're dealing with contract negotiations or an org that isn't answering your messages or something like that, like, you think, you know, it's not a big deal. Like, it's just how it is. And at some level, that's true. But having an org that you don't have to stress about, I do think makes a bigger difference than people would expect. I don't know if you agree with that, BaRRA.
Getting paid on time is also kind of cool.
That's pretty dope, huh?
Yeah.
There's a few, not to point, you know, pointy fingers, name any names, you know, but sometimes it'd be like 3 months, 4 months, and we just get like a big old lump of cash, and I'm like, well, that's nice. But
well, luckily, bills are really understanding about that kind of stuff. You know,
yeah,
like,
they really are.
If you talk to like your like apartment complex, and you're like, well, they're gonna pay me eventually. They're like, oh, that's super cool by us. You don't have to pay us until then.
Yeah, I have an esports contract, so.
Yeah, man.
I'm getting money.
Yeah, it'll be here eventually, I swear. I mean, I imagine the big thing. Go ahead. Pookie.
What other industry do you get away with that though? Like, it's
you don't.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, that's affecting people's lives, and you can't even. It's wild. We're getting deep though, you know.
Well, I just imagine. Yeah, exactly.
Striking a chord.
Well, I imagine that a lot of it is just due to the average age of the employee in esports and their work experience. You know, how many of these kids are going to have previous work experience or anything like that? Or one of the great things about esports is that you can be in a underprivileged situation and find yourself in a position to make a lot of money that you wouldn't have been able to make before, but that is the perfect recipe to be taken advantage of and things like that, which is obviously really terrible, but bad people will do bad things. So it's, you hear about all these scams from orgs and individuals and all that kind of stuff, and I think that it's those two things combined, really, is that the average age is very young and their experience is very limited, which kind of opens the door.
A lot of players, including myself, don't really read the contracts. It's just like some of these contracts.
What if Pookie's trying to write you a contract, bro? Now he knows he can slip it in. He can slip anything in there.
Dude, I'd let Pookie slip anything in that contract.
Hey,
hello. Okay, BaRRA.
Brought to you by Min?
Yeah, Min. Yeah. Well, I don't know if Min is super. Min's like, not that part. We're not sponsoring that part. That's the one part of the podcast they don't want to sponsor. Not right there.
I'm sabotaging, dude. I didn't
yeah, exactly.
Sponsorship agreement.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I imagine, though, that when BaRRA was talking about all of his experiences and saying that SSG feels a lot more like a family, I think that it's got to come down to the familiarity with the scene that you're getting into that can create that type of environment, right? Like, I imagine that when you're getting set to get, you're not waking up one day and going, it'd be cool to own a Halo team. I've never even looked at Halo before, but I'm going to go, like, talk to some players and figure it out. Like, I imagine that in order to create that type of environment, Pookie, it's important to, like, really have a connection to the scenes that you're getting into.
For sure. Yeah, 100%. Like, we were very aware of, like, inside jokes, the community, and, like, Pro League, and, like, aware of all the drama and stuff. At least I was. And, like, so as me making the content, like, I was able to hit on those inside jokes with the community, which I think really resonated well. But also, like, let's take SSG versus 100 Thieves, for example, like we're like our content and our approach just to esports in general is so different where I think our content style lends a lot more to being able to make those stupid meme pre-games and like dumb references, where 100 Thieves is really building like a premier lifestyle brand where like maybe your marketing, your Twitter doesn't allow you to post those things very much. So like we very much benefit in that. And like, but it was all like a decision. Like, again, like we came from the YouTube world of like building community and like engaging with fans. So like, that's just how we wanted to approach esports. But any like org, like our way isn't any better than 100 Thieves. And I don't think their way is any better than us. Like definitely they're a bigger org and like way bigger than SSG. But like, I'm just saying like companies with our approach can like grow to that size. Like, I don't think that's impossible. So, you know, it's just do what you're good at and like build how you want to build. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see much point in trying to make the exact same company as 100 Thieves or.
And we can't. Like, we're a bunch of 30-year-old dads from Utah. Like, we have no business like trying to be like 100 Thieves. And like, luckily, I guess we're aware of that, and we don't try to, and we just do it our own way. So. Yeah,
absolutely. What you mentioned that you kind of came from this YouTube background and all that kind of stuff. What were some misconceptions that you had about getting into esports? Like, how was it different than what you thought it would be in that community building?
For sure. You want like community side or like player side, I guess?
Give me both if you got it.
All right. I got a funny story. This is for the old Smite community. This will be for Jigs. I don't even care. Okay, so we were just starting, and I just had the impression of like, I grew up playing baseball in high school, like travel baseball, travel basketball, and like I just remember like the weekends like with my friends were just like the funnest ever, like at tournaments, staying at hotels, like didn't matter, like it was just the time of our lives. And that's how I thought esports was going to be for a lot of the teams, like best friends hanging out, like we finally made it to pro gaming, like this is it, like we're living the dream. And like I just thought that would be like kind of the team morale. But like early on we were like just signed the team, like Jigs and the guys, and we like brought them our first like opportunity as a sponsor as Razer, and Jig's like, can't do it, man. And I'm just like, what? Like, what do you mean you can't do this? Like, we went out and like we fought for this. Like, we were a no-name org. Like, Sean's not a huge influencer at the time, like, but like definitely has like the right mindset to do it. And it's like, man, like, come on. Like, he's like, this is the line I'll never forget. He goes, yeah, you just got to draw the line somewhere, man. And like, I guess that just wasn't across the line. So, so that always
my God. Like, that was the first sponsor you guys brought them to?
Razer, yeah. And he's just like,
you got to draw the line somewhere. It just so happens to be the exact first opportunity to draw it. Like, the second I have one opportunity to draw the line, I'm drawing it.
Yeah,
that is so funny, man.
Doesn't make it. But also, like, now that I've like been in the industry a long time, not a long time, like 4 or 5 years is all, but like you guys are the best at what you do. Like, of course you want the best equipment. Not saying that Razer like can't provide that, but like if people have different preferences and they want something better, like is that really crazy to think about like getting the best at the world at what they do, like the best equipment? Like no. And so that's kind of the opportunity you want to provide orgs and players as well, I guess. So
that is such a good story.
Yeah,
man.
As a player that always wants to use his own equipment, the like going between orgs, like being able to use my own equipment and then going to an org where you can't use your own equipment, and then they like swap sponsors, so then you have to swap gear and get used to like all new gear, or they like send you stuff like, oh yeah, we need you to use like this mouse or keyboard, and like it's just swapping between that stuff. Like you have to relearn all the muscle memory all over again. It's just a lot. So it's kind of funny that I relate to Jigs back then, but the way he handled it's really funny.
No, for sure. Yeah, it's just like it's like heart crushed, man. Like,
yeah.
Like, hey guys, I brought Muddy Buddies to sleep. I was like, dude, F Muddy Buddies, dude. That stuff sucks.
And screw you for suggesting it too. Yeah.
Dude.
Why would you bring those? That's so. Oh man, I love that story. And just knowing Jigs, like I can hear it in his voice absolutely perfectly. Like, just such a funny phrase for him. I think that I know that whenever I was like explaining getting into esports to like my parents and my grandparents and all this kind of stuff, when I was talking to them about, we're negotiating with this org and like it's such a pain and all this kind of stuff. They were like, how do these orgs like make money? Like, what do they do in order to like actually create a business? And I'm sure that a lot of our listeners are a little bit more informed than my parents or grandparents, though based on some chatter comments, you never know. Could you give like a breakdown of like how an org takes its investment in an esport and turns it into advancement for themselves?
Yes. First off, let's not get it twisted. A lot of orgs just aren't making money. It's definitely like a burn rate and like a hope of building like something similar to the Atlanta Hawks, or you're just kind of building a sports brand that you can hopefully one day blow up and it gets crazy in 10 years, or that like some billionaire comes and purchases for 100 million. Like that's also super dope.
Right.
But kind of the goal, or at least where I found out, and this is kind of the other end of the business that I'm not super involved with, but what helps orgs a lot is it's not prize money. Like we don't take hardly anything of like players prize pool winnings. Like you guys are in that's your thing. Like take it, like good for you. We're excited that you won that. But we look for skin revenue in games is a big part. Sponsorships can play a big part into it, which are very hard to land in esports. You'd be surprised. Like it feels like only the top echelon of esports can really land like sponsorships that are huge financial like stuff. Like everyone's super dope hooking up gear and stuff, but like really the top brands are the ones that land the huge ones. But and then merch sales is also pretty beneficial for us as well. But really, like, yeah, a lot of orgs, we've been beneficial, I guess, because like I feel like we're kind of the only org that's never had to take on investment money, which like is dope because you can do a lot of cool stuff, but then it's scary because then you got to answer to a lot of important people. But luckily, like Sean's had success and we've just been able to be so scrappy and like creative with how we approach it that like we've never had to take that. So like we own complete control. We get to run it how we want, and like now we don't have to answer to anyone, and we get to do stuff, and like we don't have to have like insane revenue each month just because we don't have to like answer to anyone. So Sean recognizes that. So we're like in a really cool position where it's just like build something cool, do it the way we want, and like either someday esports will blow up and like all these league spots we own will be like what Call of Duty's worth 15 million or something, 30 million.
Yeah.
Legends,
so they
like,
say, how could it ever be worth
yeah, I don't know if it's really worth that, but like that's what it costs to get in at least. So
right.
Yeah, so like that's kind of the plan, is like it'll blow up eventually or someone will buy out. It's like it's gonna get really popular, like mainstream teams will buy it, like traditional athletic teams will start purchasing, or like huge companies or whatever. So
yeah, I think that makes sense.
I don't know. What do you think? I've always thought like esports are going to become more like city-based teams, and eventually like you're just going to rep your city. Like that's like so event. Like we just want to become Utah's esport. And whenever Ryan Smith, he's the guy that just bought the Jazz a couple of years ago, like eventually he's going to be interested, and we need to make it so like there is no other option in Utah but Spacestation Gaming. So
sure. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the regionality of traditional sports is a huge benefit to it, right? Because it removes so much barrier to entry for new viewers. Like you don't have to figure out who to root for. You root for your city, and that's really easy, or the closest city. And of course, it could be who your parents like, or, the jerseys that you like or whatever. But overall, I think that esports' biggest challenge will always be its barrier to entry over traditional sports. It's that you don't grow up learning the rules in school of these games necessarily. And there isn't always a ball. That's a concept that I talked about a lot and continue to talk about when it comes to like casting MOBAs, is that in basketball, if you don't know anything and you just follow where the ball is going, you'll figure it out pretty quickly. There isn't a ball in a lot of games, and so it's really hard for a 50-year-old parent to like watch what their kid is interested in and not just get insanely overwhelmed really quickly. And so going to a more regional model is definitely a way to break down one of those barriers, but it also requires a lot to change, I think, about the scene. Really, and it's like turnover rate and its longevity, like player career trajectory, all that kind of stuff. There just aren't that many players who are playing their game for 12 years. You know what I mean? Like, how many pro esports players have been doing it for a dozen years straight? And that makes the regionality of it a little bit harder because you're asking people to uproot and move, not making 60 million a year like they are in traditional sports, for a career that no one's really exactly sure how long it exactly lasts. But all that stuff is, you know, everything I'm saying is could be applicable if basketball were being invented today. You know what I mean? So I don't think that these are insurmountable things that need to happen, or maybe they don't even need to happen. It can be a whole new thing. But I think there's definitely some advantage to regionality. BaRRa, I don't know if you have any thoughts on it.
I think it's pretty hard to do regionality, just due to like what states would you allow and not allow, or like what teams would you, like, say for Smite, since there's only like 8 teams, would you only have like 8 regions? Or
could be. Yeah, it could be 8 cities. I mean, you look at smaller professional sports leagues that have less teams, like somewhere like the WNBA. The teams are just more spread out.
I'm not very familiar with like league. How many people are in like LCS? How many teams?
I think it is 10 for LCS, but they're
10.
all in LA. They're all in LA.
Does esports ever get to the point where it's like the NBA, like you have, 32 teams or whatever? Or is that just too much?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I've never even thought about esports at that type of scale. It's a really interesting question.
I think maybe in like a long time from now, but it's growing at like a very slow rate, I think. And also, I don't know, just the direction I think that content's going in general. I feel like Twitch is turning into more of a like drama thing than like an esports thing lately.
And it's called lifestyle, BaRRa. We don't need to.
It's just, bro. I used to go on live stream fail so much, and I loved all the clips, and now it's like, this streamer said this about this, and this is their reaction to this. I'm like, bro, just give me some funny clips.
I just want to see people. I just want to see someone drop their dinner walking back to their desk. Yeah, right. You know what I mean? That's what I'm on here for. Like, I totally agree with you.
It's like that Tyler One clip of him like lifting the plate up to his webcam, and then like all of his spaghetti just slides off onto his keyboard, and he just sits there.
So funny.
I miss those clips, and I miss like the originality of Twitch in the beginning, and I feel like it's become more businessy, which I don't think is a bad thing, but I think people need to not like get more grassrootsy, but kind of get that feeling back. But it might just be because I've been in the scene for so long that the novelty and newness of it has worn off. And
we're getting old, BaRRa.
I might be viewing things from like a money perspective. You can go.
Sure.
No. Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're good. Finish. No, I was finished. You can.
I think like you kind of are like seeing the return of that with like TikTok though. Like a lot of the big accounts that I see are just like normal people at their weird job, but like people are just interested in like seeing like kind of casual behind the scenes, not so like business vibes. I feel like so. Like no, I definitely get what you mean. Like social media influencers, like I know I work for one, but a lot of them can just be very like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that Sean is he's the exception, not the rule to that sphere for sure.
100%.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really like, I can't believe I've never thought about esports from that angle, and now my brain is kind of like really diving into that idea. But I feel like so many of these tier 1 esports are setting themselves up to be tall, not wide. Like I don't know how much crossover that term has. It's like a civil. I've heard it the most when it comes to like Civ games. But you can build something to be 30 teams wide, but no real clean like minor league setup or something like that. Or you can do something like what LCS has done, which is 10 teams, here's their academy teams, here's the proving grounds, or, you know, like Smite, like here's your 10 teams, here's the Smite Challenger Circuit, here's the Smite Open Circuit, all that kind of stuff. And I feel like so many Tier 1 esports have gone to go for the tall. Maybe that's just less risk involved than going wide, but I feel like it is going to be hard because the more depth that you get, the harder it's going to be to then spread out that amount of depth, right?
Yeah, you gotta support that.
Exactly.
Scale.
Whereas if you only had this, you know, a little slice that you could spread out over a bigger space, that would be much easier than taking these like really big systems that they have to spread out. But I don't know. I don't know if that means that esports is always going to be more tall than wide. But it certainly is right now.
Yeah, that's hard because it's like just esports titles in general don't last very long. But like I think that structure takes a long time to establish and build. So it's like that's just scary as like an investment of like, is it worth building this for 6 years if I don't even know my title is going to be relevant in 6 years?
Right.
So
I mean, look at Overwatch. Did you guys know Overwatch 2 is like still alive? Like I feel like I didn't.
Huh?
No, I haven't seen anything about that game. And Overwatch was supposed to be the
premier,
region
like,
league,
shooter
you know,
esport,
like all that kind of stuff. You know, they were really pushing it, and they had Blizzard money and the capability to try and do something like that. And it had a lot of successes. But here's the hard part, in my opinion, is that building a league is so hard, and building a scene is so hard. And at the core of it, your game has to be good. And it is really, really, really hard to make a good video game. Like, I'm pretty convinced that every good video game that has ever existed, Smite included, is a happy accident. They all are. Because for all the best intentions and all the money that you can spend, you still end up with a game that isn't that fun at its core sometimes. And it's just such a crapshoot. Like, you don't really know. Like, no way the Rocket League devs thought that their game would get this big, right? Mm-hmm. It's just like, oh, you know, we're just going to do this thing. It sounds fun. And all of a sudden,
esport has a ball, dude. It's just like you said.
That is a huge part of it, no doubt.
I actually, like,
no, it really
Rocket
is.
League, it's so easy to watch. Like, and same for Counter-Strike for me for a bit. And I think that's why I never got into games like Valorant and Dota, where there's just so many moving things. If I haven't played the game, it's just a bit more complicated, and I just don't know what's going on. But I can, like, just always watch Rocket League. Like, I don't need to play Rocket League to watch it and get involved and enjoy it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like for the scale you guys were talking about earlier, there needs to be a game that just... it needs to be, like, a new, like, Halo 2. In my opinion, where everyone plays Halo 2, everyone knows what Halo 2 is, and it just takes over the scene. And I think now, in my opinion, I think that gaming is spread a little too thin for there to be a major esport title that, like, you brought up Overwatch earlier, like, I don't think Overwatch had the player base or the design to have the longevity, in my opinion. I don't think it was, like, a great game to watch.
Yeah.
Or be involved in. Like, it was just boring to watch for me.
Well, what I think is, like, if Rocket League had the same amount of... If they had come up with the Rocket League, like they did the Overwatch League, like, surely that was in the works even before, as the game's in beta. They're like, we have the game, like, this is going to be... It was supposed to be an esports first game from day one. That was their whole plan. With the amount of money and the amount of pressure... in order to make that happen, if Rocket League was under that same idea, it never would have turned out the exact same way, right? Like, that amount of pressure and money just warps whatever it is from the get-go. And so it's so, like, that's why I just think it's going to be so hard. And it makes me wonder in you know, the expiration of esports and how quickly new ones come out and fade away and all that kind of stuff. It makes me wonder if the future of esports is not always just, I only play this game. I wonder if it's more like these gamers that can be really good at multiple games, and that an esports season would be competing in a rotating, like, list of games that come in and out of rotation, basically, so often, in order to keep up with what is going on in esports. and really like changing your league format every year or 2 years. That okay, this is going to be the world's game. This is going to be the game to like the regular season games. You got to win it's a best of 5 and you got to win. It's like a Valorant match, a Rocket League match, a Smite match, like Overwatch 3 or whatever. And it's more like competing across multiple titles, because that way at least you can keep up with the nature of the beast, right?
There was a show back on like G4 TV that did that. I don't know if you guys
and I think that'd be awesome. I didn't watch it, but that sounds dope.
It was like a fighting game, a shooting game. They throw in like some DDR like occasionally, but it was a blast to watch. I have no idea what the name of it was, but it was so cool. They'd have like 4 of the top gamer people like flying in to like play like Smash.
He's a top gamer.
It was really like cringy, probably like going back if I watched it now, but back then it was like the coolest thing I've ever watched.
I wonder if that just has to be how the setup is, because there aren't baseballs that are going to be around for 120 years. You know what I mean?
Playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah, go for it. Please do.
My experience is fans love Smite or fans love Rainbow Six, but they don't love both.
You're right. You're very right.
I just think, and like another cool part is like me as like a super casual Smite player, like I can watch and I can get onto Twitch and I can see BaRRaCCuDDa play Medusa or whatever, and then I can immediately, he's the best in the world at what he does, or one of the best, and then I can immediately go into Smite and I can try and do that exact same thing. Like that's a super organic like experience you can have with esports that like you don't get to go hang out with LeBron on the court and like talk to him in chat while he's streaming and like doing what he does,
Yep, exactly.
But you get to do that with pro gamers, and like if I want to do that, I want to do that with like the very best in Smite, not like the guy that's like good at Smite and just is also cracked at Valorant. But so
no, you're
that's
totally
like
right.
The fan, I come from a different angle. Yeah,
right. No, you're totally right, and that's the exact type of example I give to people who are not endemic to esports. Is like I can want to do what LeBron does really badly, and I just won't be able to.
Wasn't it Gars that went to play Rocket League or something?
Yeah, I think he did.
Prime example there that you did. You just do what you're good at, man. Just throw that Thor hammer.
Just
and
play Thor, bro.
Rake in some money, dude.
Bro, Gars could have been. I mean, he was really good, but he could have had such a long career. That man, I don't know. He was absolutely like.
I hated that team because I was such a fan of you guys, and like that team just came out of nowhere, and just like wrecked the league for a year. I was like, they don't respect, like they don't deserve this spot.
These children coming in, what are they doing?
These little kids, bro. Boosh just like raw ulting everyone in the mid lane.
Yep.
Like, yeah, for sure.
Boosh, Gars, Divio, Snoopy, Eonic, like literally like 14, 15, 16-year-olds.
What would they do? I don't remember. I think it was like they would like hog mid camps or something weird at the first, and like it was right when mid camp control. Like if you got that, like you pretty much won the game. It was like season 1 or 2, but like and they just came out crazy, and it was so weird as a fan, just like see a new team just come out of the blue and just like take a league by surprise. It was cool.
And then they joined your org, BaRRa. Speaking of orgs, they hopped on the cognitive grind.
Yeah, well, we were scrim partners. I've always loved being scrim partners, but I think the league is just so different now where you can't be. But it was just so nice to be able to scrim partner like Cog Red back then and just practice like specific things that you wanted to, whereas now you're like practicing versus so many different teams and getting so many different like flavors. But I guess back then it was just more about like mechanical skill purely than strategies, and now I think it's the best strategy wins that day, unless someone has like a ridiculously good game, which I don't think happens too often anymore, where someone just straight up like out mechanically skills someone. But yeah, back then it was just the Wild West, bro. Like mechanics were just king, in my opinion, back then.
Yeah, how productive do you think your scrim sessions were? Looking back at those season 1 scrims, like how much
I
were
wish
you really
I could,
learning?
dude. I have no idea. I remember like some days would be me yelling at Stealth and being like, "Stealth, stop being a crybaby. Like we gotta focus. Like stop like yelling." And then Andy would be like halfway through scrims, "I don't want to scrim today. Not scrim today." And I'd be like, okay, no, we have to scrim. Like, me and Jeff are like, boys, we gotta practice. And Omega is just there, like, Baskin's just there and, like, along for the ride at that point. But it was just a different time. Whereas now it's like, you show up to scrims and you scrim for the 3 hours. Like, you can't just be like, oh, I don't want to scrim today. Like, you can't really do that nowadays because the competition is so high, in my opinion, now.
It's a job. You know, you gotta show up and do your job.
Yep.
Unlucky. Yeah.
It's just I don't know, it's just a different scene. But back to the topic, I think it needs to be, like, the game, to, like, be, of all games, needs to be a very approachable to the average audience. Like, someone who doesn't play the game that often.
Yep.
And, like, I think, because the fans will always watch the game. Like, Smite fans will always watch Smite. Apex people will always watch Apex. But it needs to attract different people without the, like, tremendous prize pools that are at, like, Worlds events, in my opinion.
Right.
But I don't know, like, how approachable that realistically is, because, like, I feel like Riot will always, like, make their own games, and I feel like Hi-Rez will always make their own games. I feel like people won't, like, come together to make one singular, like, esport title to be the esport title of, like, all esports, I guess.
The game.
I think that, like, as a company, though, like, you're approaching that, like, am I making a video game or am I making an esports league? Because, like,
right.
The money that Fortnite brings in outside of esports is, like, what, 10,000x probably? Like, there's way no, like, comparison there. And I'm sure Smite's the same with, like, skin sales. It's like, what does, like, skin sales really make versus, like, what the esports scenes make? So
right.
You always got to have, like, I don't know, sucks, dude. Money talks in business.
Yeah.
Sure does. Sure does. That's the way it be.
Yeah.
Pookie, what is it like being an owner and watching a team compete in something like a world championship? I'm sure it's very much like watching your kid play, you know, a big T-ball match or something like that. And I do mean T-ball in the case of BaRRa's performances at times. Kind of similar to that type of vibe.
For sure. At least that's how my experience was. Like, I think BaRRa could probably tell you, but, like, we had, like, fun trips, like going to New York. Like, we just went to B&H, like this huge, like, electronic equipment store, like Best Buy kind of, but, like, cooler, and just, like, streamed out of there and, like, went and got pizza downtown, was, like, stuck in a huge snowstorm. Like, we just had these, like, cool, like, homey experiences. And so then, like, going to Worlds and, like, watching them win or, like, come to the booth and hang out and, like, seeing all their fans, like, you're just, like, you're excited for them, dude. It's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine that it's so much more stressful that way. I've noticed that I've gotten more stressed watching SPL this year than I did, like, literally regular season games, than I ever did when I was casting them. Because when you're in it, it's like, oh, I'm just casting and, like, I don't have to think about it. But now I'm like, but what if they lose and they'll be sad? Like, that'll be, you know, or like, I feel like it's so much harder to be a spectator and keep your emotions in check than even when you're competing. It obviously the competition pressure is so different, and it's just, like, it's such a different angle of attack on you. But in my experience, at least, I didn't experience emotions like that when I was playing or when I was casting. When I'm playing, when you're just kind of in it. But when you're watching, it's like, when it's so out of your control and you're not involved at all, you're, like, stressed about the outcome.
For sure.
Yeah, I get way more stressed out watching games than playing. It is terrifying watching someone play. I don't know why, but it's like spectating the games. I think for this most recent LAN, I can't remember, it was like D-Dub's team. Like, I really wanted them to win, and it was just like every mistake, I'm like, no, don't do it, please. Like, I was freaking out on stream the whole time, so I can definitely relate to that. It's just, you always want to see the team that you like play well, I guess. I don't know. Or, like, don't make any mistakes, and then you can see everything from top down, and
yeah, for
it's
sure.
terrifying.
Pookie, were you gonna say something?
I lost it. I saw Fine OK in the chat, and I love that guy, so I was distracted a little bit.
I know. You think about him, his muscles and all that kind of stuff, and it's just really hard to stay focused. I totally understand that. In fact, like, I literally lost what I was about to say because I literally started thinking about Alex's muscles, and then I totally lost it. It was something about, like, saving money in phone plans. BaRRa, help me out, maybe? Anything coming to
like
mind?
Slipping something into a contract?
No. There was something about how, like, we hate middlemen. Like we don't like monkey in
okay.
the middle as a game. Maybe.
Oh, I think I got it. It was about how Mint Mobile,
Holy crap!
awesome mobile product that also sponsors the backliner, so that
That's
very much
awesome.
helps out your homies here, Aggro and BaRRa. They take out that middleman. You don't got to deal with that upsell. You just go straight to Mint Mobile. They're going to give you a super good rate on your cell phone service. It's going to be super reliable. I think BaRRa, you and Destiny use it. You can testify to how it's changed your life. And hey, what the hell? /backliners, get a little promo, save a little more, dude.
Holy!
I'm leaning back in my chair, bro. I'm relaxed. Right? I don't got to do anything. Pookie's got it all for us. My goodness.
Perfect.
BaRRa, do what he said. Tell him about how much you love it.
Yeah, we actually just renewed our plans for, barely any money. It took about 2 seconds, thankfully.
Oh,
and
so easy.
One of Destiny's coworkers was talking to her about her phone plan, and she was paying for 3 lines. She was paying $120 a month with another phone service. And guess how much I just renewed mine for?
How much was it?
It was like a little $200,
Ooh.
That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
I mean, you're saving a lot of money. And like I said, as someone who pinches every single penny in my bank account, I love saving money.
I have a story for that too as well.
Oh, no.
Oh, please do. Right after I let everyone know that all they have to do to get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped straight to your door for free is go to mintmobile.com/backliners. That's mintmobile.com/backliners. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/backliners. Pookie, I cannot wait for this story. Please lay it on me.
What was it? We went to Vegas, BaRRa. 2018 season kickoff.
Oh, no.
All-star, HyperX, premiering their arena or whatever at the Luxor. I traveled down with BaRRa and the boys. This is actually a pretty good story for you and Ben, I think, actually.
Okay, cool.
We played United. We stomped those guys, not even close. Felt pretty good. I do think, though, there was something weird, PBM was playing jungle or something weird happened with someone couldn't travel for them. So it was weird. But it's just like a show match, whatever, goofing, having fun.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we've never taken investment as an org, just kind of sliding Sean's credit card and we go on these trips. I'm like, hey guys, let's go out to dinner after. This will be dope. I get trolled so hard. We go into this restaurant and it's the steak is sold at Wagyu, $42 an ounce. That's how the menu is working.
Oh,
and I'm
Lord.
seeing in these prices and I'm knowing that I'm covering this bill and I'm just going, shit, this is bad. Sean is going to be pissed. I'm going to drop $3,000 on this meal, whatever. It wasn't that much. It was $800, but BaRRa ordered pasta. I remember that. I was super grateful for you ordering pasta. Inside, I was this guy gets it. He's not taking advantage of me. I really like this guy. He's dope. I remember, dude, fries were $15, and then we ordered 6 sides for the table. I'm I just spent fresh fries, dude. So anyway, then I ordered tuna, and it was $70 for a piece of tuna. So then, obviously, the steaks were $200 or whatever. But, yeah. So BaRRa's pinching money, even at other people's dime.
Dude, what a great moment.
I've never had meat that expensive that was worth that price, and every time I've tried to order the high dollar steak or whatever, I've always been I could probably do this better at home for a piece of meat from the deli. I mean, vegan now, but you get it now. You get it back in the day, and it's, I don't know. Every time I see those prices, I'm like, nah, it's not worth it. You're trolling me.
So funny, dude. That is so funny. Look, Pookie, I respect you. I've got your back. I'm ordering a steak in that situation, and I'm sorry.
No, you just want to show a match, Oric's taking you out. This is it, you live in your esports stream. I say you go for it, but
But BaRRa's a better man.
Now. That's nothing, but it's just early on, oh man, we literally only have 1,000 in the account. Crazy.
And BaRRa you saved Spacestation as an org. It sounds like, if you had gotten a steak, that would have been it.
Dude, if it's someone else's dime, man, you gotta.
It's true. You cannot be doing the thing where it's oh, you're paying. Looks like I'm getting every appetizer. Everyone always makes that joke. No one thinks that's funny. No one likes it. Don't do it. Just be normal about it. It's not.
Just be a normal human. get a normal entree. Don't get like the most expensive thing on the menu.
Yes.
Like,
Oh, that is the worst. You're totally right. I'm just flashing back to so many bad memories of situations like that. And now I'm getting tilted. I've never had like a $200 steak, but you're right. There's no way it could be worth that cost. I feel like if a steak's over like a normal size steak
now, dude. I bet it is.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like the best steakhouse I've ever eaten at is here in Atlanta. Pookie, next time you're in town, we gotta go. It won't be on Space Station's card, I promise. It's like
it'll still be on yours.
80. Well, I didn't say that. Like $85-$90, a super expensive steak. But it's like the best thing of all time. I feel like that's like I don't want to pay if I'm paying more than $100. I'm like, come on, man. But if it's like 80, I get it. It's a high end like steakhouse. Like I feel like that's in the acceptable range.
Hey, man, just like Jake said, dude, you got to draw the line somewhere.
That is going to become a legendary line on this podcast. I'm going to use that all the time. If you're sick of paying too much for your wireless bill, it's as Jig said, you got to draw the line somewhere. And for me, it's $15 a month for my line. What was I going to say? I think you said that when we were talking about this show, that you had some stories that you wanted to tell. That BaRRA one was great. Are there any more you wanted to tell the people about your time in Smite?
Dang, I'm just trying to think. I mean, just a ton of like fun times and memories. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I did have I brought a little show and tell.
Oh, perfect.
This is the favorite piece of merch that I own. Super rare, like one of one. I hope Fine Okay is still in chat. Oh, I have a story for that too. Okay.
Yeah.
Just to show how like unprepared we were for esports. We first started, we didn't have a jersey supplier. I had no idea what we were doing. Like, we're just idiot YouTubers, okay? So we got to figure out how to make these professional jerseys. Couldn't find anyone to help us. Like, couldn't find even a local company. I literally went online, downloaded like a sewing template and like threw a pattern over top of it, and we got it cut. We some local guy sublimated that pattern onto like white fabric, and we had a friend cut and sew it for us.
No,
and those
way.
are the jerseys we sent with them to Valencia DreamHack, and you can look the collars like it's like you're wearing like a 70s V-neck, dude. Like, it's clear down, like it's so like it just does not fit. It's just so funny. I hope Final Case still has that, because that's just like such a funny story of where we kind of came from. But anyways, we finally got a jersey provider for our next kind of squad, but DJ Pernicus was our coach for like 3 weeks.
Look at that.
And this is like a one-on-one, and I wear this to the office like every other week, dude. This is my
that is awesome
favorite jersey of all time.
I love that.
Because he's super hot, and he never got this. Like, this was his jersey. Perfect example, dude. I never sent the guy his jersey, and he left the org, dude. So,
oh my God, you're his Elevate, man. This is terrible. Now we all found it out. If I know one thing, by the way, about any esports jersey manufacturer, is that they have to find the material that holds in body odor the best. That is the most important thing for esports jerseys, is how much can the smell remain post-wash. And if it remains a lot, then that is going to be what the jersey is made from. That's the most important thing in my experience. They all smell terrible. They all do.
Yeah, because gamers sweat a lot. You would.
Well, you're up on stage. It's hot. Like, I'm not putting the blame on them. I'm really not.
I'm sweating right now, man. I'm not. I sweat during scrims. I sweat during everything.
This guy's so sweaty all the time. Such a tryhard.
Really,
yeah, I don't know. If as soon as someone can figure out how to make an esports jersey that actually smells good after being washed and worn and then washed, that company should get all the business forever. That's really like what they need to figure out. Sorry, I got a little sidetracked because I thought about it. Go ahead, Pookie.
Oh, good. No, I wasn't gonna say anything, but I was gonna say, like, it's crazy how from a player side and like your guys' side, I'm sure you see it too, of like working with Hi-Rez and like trying to like collaborate with other companies, but like it's crazy how many hugely successful companies are just like suck to work with. Like, it's just a pain in the butt. Like, we've had to go from we've had like 4 or 5 third-party merch sponsors, and just like eventually like F it, like, we're just going to pay a guy in-house to figure out how to source clothes from Alibaba, and we'll get our own samples, and we'll just handle it ourselves, because it's just not worth like what these companies charge you. Like, That's how
Is that
esports
what you
still
guys
something.
do? So it's like really in-house for you guys for your merch?
Oh, you want to hear something dope?
Yeah, I do.
So just like the structure of this. Okay, so there's Spacestation Gaming, and then the Space Station, which is just like you hear like the umbrella, like the parent company or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So under the Space Station, you have like Sean Duras, his social media, Space Station Gaming, whatever. Kind of like these companies that are more like you need your day-to-day employees to run them, which is kind of where I fit in with Space Station Gaming. But we also have these insane departments like it's called labs, for example, where they're the ones that source all of our merch and like signage and like stuff like props, whatever we need, or like stuff that we put in like a giveaway or like a bonus thing on the merch. Like they'll source all that for us. So we've built this infrastructure of like there's all these support companies. So like we can literally think of any business idea we want and say, okay, we'll have this team do that, we'll have this team do that, we'll do this, and like let's launch this company. And we have like the hard part as a company is just the distribution. But with Sean, like that's taken care of. Like we have such a spread across that, and like the talent agency that we run, that like it's crazy. Like just potential here is limitless. It feels like sometimes, which kind of sucks sometimes because you get a lot of opportunities that come and like workload gets heavy. But
right,
super dope. Yeah.
Well, I gotta say, and I'm not just saying this because you're here and I'm blowing smoke. I say it anytime I'm asked. All of the Space Station merch is the best quality of any esports merch I've gotten. I wear like the one gray like Space Station t-shirt, Space Station Gaming t-shirt, you know, with like a little waveform on it, the kind of retro look. I wear that all the time. It's been through the wash 1,000 times, still soft and good. This hoodie is like one of the whenever I go back up north to Pittsburgh for Christmas, I always bring this hoodie because it's like the warmest one I own. And it's like the best. So whatever you guys are doing on the merch side, you're doing it right as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, just kind of like strategy is why take advantage of a fan? Just give them a dope hoodie at a reasonable price and like make them a fan for life and they'll support you forever. So like, yeah, take a little bit of hit on margins, but who cares, dude? You're not building this to make all your money in merch. You're building this for like an eventual buyout or like huge acquisition cost down the road 10 years. So take that approach to everything and like, yeah, like everything will work well.
Yeah, exactly. I know I mentioned that I wanted to ask this and I'm glad I remembered. I think like last week or 2 weeks, it was 2 weeks ago, we were talking about this whole 100 Thieves and the mob situation where, you know, the mob was talking about, what's the guy's name? I totally forget.
Frosty?
Frosty, yeah. Frosty was talking about, you know, how they were treated and all that kind of stuff. And it seemed like social media was pretty, from at least my timeline, was pretty pro 100 Thieves in that situation. It sounded to a lot of people, and I agreed after doing a little more research after that podcast that no one's going to be happy losing money, even when it's, you know, the contract that they sign and all that, and they're getting all these other benefits. It's just really easy to focus in on like, I'm losing this amount of money due to this sponsorship deal or whatever. But it seemed to me like it was pretty standard in a lot of ways, and just like it didn't work out for any number of reasons. And I figured, you know, since we talked about it from a more player facing focus, I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts as an org owner, what you thought of that whole situation.
For sure. First off, I also want to back like content creators in themselves. Like I worked for a YouTube daily editor. Like I was a daily editor for a daily vlog, and like just the work it takes to become like a content influencer to build your own brand is insane, then let alone having asks from your org on top of that to build content. Like you're running like a business at that point. Like it's not just you anymore. Like, you know, so that's a tough transition to make for a lot of people that like, I just don't think, not that they can't handle it. Like definitely building your own brand is way harder than running that. It's just like, it's a new challenge that like, I just don't think people realize sometimes, but that's the sad part is like, that's where the org should be able to come in and help. Like 100 Thieves, like sure, maybe he didn't create the content and he's contracted to, and like, don't get me wrong. Like if you're running an org at the level that Nate Shot's involved with, like you don't really have time to check in to see if Frosty's making his content. Like that's just not
right
on your day to day. But like sucks that he didn't take advantage of the opportunity. Like I said, like we didn't have jerseys, so I printed them out and had someone sew them. Like figure out the problem to your solution, but also as a company, like stuff you invest in, it shouldn't be seen as like pure financial growth. Like you should want to see your streamers succeed. So I think there should have been more communication of like, how can we help you? Why isn't stuff happening? Like hopefully someone's looking after that in your company, like where your money and your investment's going. So
right.
Definitely just like a huge ball dropped on both ends of like not making stuff happen. And then whoever at 100 Thieves should have been communicating and like reporting why stuff wasn't happening. Why did it ever get 4 months in before anyone notices anything or like says anything?
Right. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense to have those like producers almost is the closest analog that, you know, we have in the game dev industry. Just like,
but it's hard, like
job are there to be like, yo, we still good? Is everything good?
And I know like from experience, like just SSG has so much stuff to worry about. Like I don't know when Bear is streaming. Like I'll tune in when I can, but like hopefully he does that, and hopefully he hits whatever stream deliverable we ask him to promote that day. But like you have people and like processes in place, but like you kind of just hope everyone's gonna give their best effort, but also you need to have steps in place to like check people. Like we're running a business and like there needs to be accountability. So, but like you can do it in a way that's healthy and you would avoid these toxic situations of no conversation or communication for 5 months and then it erupting. And like, sure, like 100 Thieves comes out on top in this situation, I think, but like still shitty that like that drama is aired out in front of the public. Like how much do you really win, you know?
Yeah. So, no, neither side really winning for sure.
Yeah.
Bear, were you going to say something there that cut you off?
Yeah, I always hate when that stuff is like promoted on social media because it always turns into like a he said, she said. Like, whoever lights the fire the brightest, like whether they're being truthful or being like overly aggressive, trying to get like their fans on their side, whoever it is, like there's just always like ugliness, in my opinion, smeared on both sides. And I always like, in my opinion, you should always handle that stuff privately unless it's literally your last resort and they're not responding to you anymore and you need to like get attention on a certain subject. But even then, like unless you outright win the argument or disagreement, I think it's so ugly on both sides.
Yeah, I think I've got one more question I want to ask you, Pookie, before the random question of the week. I know we're already a little over time, but I think
no worries, man.
It's really good. It's really hard. I'm so old these days that it's hard for me to not like get up on my soapbox at times. But
it's funny you say that. I've noticed recently that like there's certain technology things like I just want to adapt, and it's like my first admittance of like becoming a boomer. Like I just feel it happening, and like luckily I feel like I'm kind of nuanced enough to realize it. So I won't adapt, but like I'll be like, okay, that's fine that you do things differently. But like I'm finally getting to that point in my life where it's just like I like things the way I like them, dude.
Like, can't we just do it the way I know how to do it, guys? Like, come on. But the story about you not having a jersey sponsor and not being able to find one and just like getting, you know, printing them out and finding someone to sew them together. Like, I've worked in a lot of different industries now. You know, I worked at my uncle's restaurant for forever when I was young, and worked in sports broadcasting for many years, and then was a caster, and now I'm a game dev. And the thing that is true again across all of these industries, some of which are really not linked at all in any way besides the fact that they're work, is that the people who just figure out a way to get things done, even if it's not the easiest or the prettiest or the cleanest, just like, and it's not to say don't ask for help or anything like that. It's just like if you just accept that, okay, this is just gotta how it's just gotta get done. Can I be creative and find a way to get it done? Those are the people that are successful at their jobs across all of those industries. And I'm old enough now that I can say I feel pretty confident in saying that'll get you where you want to be in almost every industry that you want to get into. So the people who try the first thing that comes to mind and then give up and go, I couldn't do it. Those are the people that you're gonna gate yourself pretty quickly if that's your mentality.
Sure.
Across esports, content creation, game development, you know, building an org, whatever you want to do. just don't, it's not just giving up when your first 1, 2, 3, 53 attempts don't work. It's being a little tenacious. So I thought that was a great story. The last thing that I wanted to ask you, Pookie, before we get to the random question of the week, I have forgotten, and I took a long time posing this question in hopes that my brain would spit it back out at me. And here we are, and it still hasn't come to me quite yet. So that is really unlucky. You hate when that happens. Again, I'm getting old. I just don't got it anymore. But before we get to the random question of the week, then, I remember what it was. I'm sure a lot of our listeners and viewers are interested in becoming content creators and esports players, and being picked up on an esports team is pretty straightforward. Get on a team that's good enough, you'll get an org. For content creators,
funny you say it like that, because that sounds like the hardest thing in the world to me.
Yeah,
where like making a channel on YouTube sounds like the easiest thing in the world to me. Where like that probably sounds like daunting to pro players. I'm like,
oh Lord, that sounds like so much work and management and all this kind of. Dude, Pookie, I'm gonna be real with you. We're trying to set up like a Patreon for the podcast so that people can like support us directly. Bro, I've been trying for like 2 weeks, and every time I think about it, I'm like, I gotta figure out, like we gotta get a Discord made, like all this kind of stuff.
You make so many memes, you're just not excited to make memes to post to Twitter anymore.
Yeah, that's just the way it is. But like, so for content creators, can you give some advice on how to build your own, not this whole like building your own personal brand, which like is so grandiose and all this kind of stuff, but like, what are some small, easy to understand steps that content creators can take in order to set themselves in the right direction to getting picked up for an org they want to work for?
I think having a fan base that is genuine to you, and like maybe it's small, but like I've talked to streamers in the Smite community who average 400 to 500 viewers, and they still make 10K a month. And that is what it is. But what I'm saying is like, because you have this dedicated following and this fan base, like that's way more attractive to us as Spacestation Gaming, that we can say, hey, here's our sponsor, Oats Overnight, plug it, and I know we're going to get X amount of sales, versus you do crazy off the wall content that is funny and viral, but like you're not really building a community that like cares about you, or like you're just kind of like flavor of the week content. So that's a good way to approach it for sure. Again, that's very hard. Like turning on a camera on Twitch and just like being a cool person and like being yourself, like for the people that can get 30,000 views, like that's got to be insane. Like just how cool that feels. Of just like, I have a dope personality and people dig that. Like that's way harder to do, I think, than like creating good YouTube content that you can edit and cater and like change all this stuff. Like in my mind, that's just how I think. Like
sure.
But anyways, shoot, I kind of got off topic.
No, you're good.
Content creators getting into sports. So yeah, create something that you have a passionate fan base about. And then like, also I think it's important to find your niche. Like look at Incon, for example, like nothing against Smite, but it's not the biggest game in the world, but like there's a person that loves Smite, plays it every day, insane viewership numbers on Twitch, really good numbers on YouTube, like not crazy, but like he's just uploading VODs, like copy paste, who cares? And like I'm convinced every video game, if you love it and you're passionate, you can make a career in it at this point. Like that's such a dope opportunity that like, if I love something, I can just do it. So I think if you like, that's what orgs are looking for, is just like that, well, at least Spacestation Gaming, at least just like people that really care, just like kind of understand like what it means to build a community, because we come from that same point of like, that's really what moves the needle, I think, and like brings value. So
yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point. I mean, when I think about like content creators who I'm like really envious of, I just understand that getting to people who really don't like going to their office job or working, construction or, these physically demanding jobs, sitting there and playing Smite for 8 hours a day sounds like an absolute dream.
It's not.
And it can be. But I've done some of that, but that really sucks sometimes. The guy who I'm the most jealous of is Tim the Tatman. That guy's stream is the best. I love Tim. First of all, I think that he's my favorite stream personality of any of the big streamers. And I don't watch him play a single game these days. I haven't watched Tim do gameplay in maybe 2 years. But I'm turning on his stream in the mornings for him to watch links and just like talk about what he's thinking about and just react to stuff. And then as soon as he starts loading up COD, I'm out. I don't care anymore. But like that's what I would love to do that. Like how awesome is that?
Be yourself. Freaking be a 1% insane money, like oh my gosh,
dude he must make
a ton of pressure
so
though, like
much
but like
money.
if you can manage that, dude, like that'd be dope.
Yep.
Variety streamers are like they gotta have the best lifestyle of all, dude.
Have to
of all the streamers at least. Yeah,
no doubt in my mind. All right, time for the random question of the week. This week I noticed this when I was checking the YouTube comments of our last podcast, which all of a sudden I do now. Please be nice to us.
Oh no.
Someone was talking about Elden Ring and how difficult it was for them to beat Elden Ring. And I don't know about you guys. I haven't played a Dark Souls game. I'm somewhat interested in playing Elden Ring someday, or Sekiro. But they wanted to know about difficult games that you've played.
Ooh.
And I know, BaRRa, I know you were not a single player game guy. But one of the first things that comes to mind when I think about like games that are hard that I've played, Fortnite is a hard game when you think about like that game's impossible as far as I'm concerned. Like I watch gameplay clips of these like 12-year-olds on iPads and I'm like, that guy is moving at the speed of light. Like what is happening right now? When I think of difficult games that I've played, I've got another like a single player one that I'll go after you guys, but like as far as multiplayer games go, I would consider Fortnite to be like nearly impossible to play at a high level. Are there games that come to mind for you, Pookie, that you've played and you were like, how is anyone actually good at this?
I don't know. I've kind of had a weird gaming career of like high school, got really into Halo, then went to World of Warcraft, then went to Smite, and just have kind of been like, that's the last game I really got into. I've kind of casually played stuff there. So
sure.
But I think Halo is definitely where I get the most frustrated. I've definitely like thrown controllers into the dresser and like effing raged and like punch desk really hard. Like punch stuff with like hoping I would break it, but like it never happens. Like it just hurt my face.
Isn't that the worst? Because you know in the back of your mind I shouldn't break this thing, but you really want to, and then you can't, even though you want to, and then you're just like mad that you couldn't even do the thing you wanted to do. I've been there. I've been there for sure. That's funny. Barry?
For me, multiplayer wise, I think it was CS:GO. I think I just tried to play it 1 or 2 days, and I was like, how do you aim in this game? Like, I put my reticle on them, I shoot, and I don't hit a bullet.
Yep.
And it doesn't make sense to me. And then I watch, like, good people play the game, and they put their reticle on them, they shoot, and they hit it. And I'm like, what's the difference? Like,
yeah, it's not fair.
Yeah, like, am I moving? Like, do I just not know what I'm doing? And then also, in my opinion, Apex, just because I played a lot of Apex in the off season, not this most recent off season, but in most off seasons I play Apex, and the skill gap and skill cap in that game are just tremendous. Like, the people that are really good at that game will beat you every single time, and just the way you can move in that game, the way you can shoot in that game, it just feels so fluid, and it almost feels like a single player game. Because you feel when you mess up, and that's painful. And I feel like in Smite, sometimes you don't really feel when you mess up, but in Apex, it's like every single gunfight, I feel, is kind of a tremendous responsibility for, like, each person on your team. And just watching, like, the people that are way better than me at shooters play that game, as someone who's played shooters basically his whole life, I think that it's just a really, like, fun game to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, Apex is a good one. I should play some more Apex again. I haven't played Apex in like 3 years, probably.
It's so
How long has it been out? Is that an accurate timeline? Probably not.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years, I'd say. I think.
Wow. Holy crap. Time doesn't make any sense. The single player game I was thinking of, when I was younger, I loved playing Ninja Gaiden. And I've like looked up I remember talking to my friend about it, and he was like, yeah, that game was so hard. And I kind of like, it unlocked the memory of playing it and how much I died and how much like I just like could not do it at times. And then I went back and watched some gameplay, and I was like, did I actually beat this, or am I lying? Like, did I actually like beat this game? Because it looks really hard. I really want to go back and play it again. But I loved that was like the most challenging game I can remember playing. But I loved it. It was just like a fun like hack and slash, really gory. And it's just like ninjas are just obviously cool. Like, what could possibly be more cool than ninjas? Except for lightning. So it's like lightning ninja is about as cool as you can get as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I don't think I ever played that game. Is it
Dude,
just like a...
It was hard.
Like a Dark Souls game? Or like survival game? Or what?
No, it was like... it was just like a typical single-player game, I think. Like, you're kind of... Not really an RPG, I wouldn't say, but... You know, it's got a story, and it's got its levels, and you just, like, go and level up your weapons a little bit, and get some new weapons, and... Kill the bad guys. It was really fun. It had like the flashy like executions like God of War has and that kind of stuff. I'm a sucker for those things, man. Like little QuickTime events. I love those. Gamers say they hate QuickTime events. Not me. I love QuickTime events.
What's a QuickTime event?
QuickTime events when like it goes into like you lose your game becomes scripted and then it's like
You have to press
A pops up. Yeah, like you got to press
yeah.
A at the right time and then Spider-Man like darts under their legs and punches them in the face. Then you got to press X, and then they get, it's like all that kind of stuff. What are you playing games for if not for cool cinematic moments like that? And it's just way easier to do it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I don't like those either.
Oh.
Yeah,
right.
sorry. Also, I don't really remember like really difficult single player games. So I really didn't play a lot of like single player games ever.
It would be really funny, Barry, as someone, since you've never played like any single player games, I would watch you play like Elden Ring or Sekiro or something like that.
I would. Actually, I was at Vin's place. I think it was before. I think it was when he was on like Renegades and at his apartment. I played one boss in Sekiro, like never played it before. I played one boss for like 2 hours and never beat it. And it was so confusing.
Were there like other people over and you were just sitting there trying to beat this Sekiro boss? Is that what was going on?
No, I was hanging out with Vin, and I think it was like for a LAN or something. And I was just like staying there the night or like staying there the weekend.
Oh, okay, I got you.
I was playing, and I'm like, how do people play this? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Because normally my brain like starts to learn things, and then it would like change the way it fought, and I'm like,
that's not fair.
Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, the
but
attack
I just
chain
learned
is
it.
different now. Yeah, like, what am I supposed to do? And so my brain either goes to like, I'm going to play this until I beat it, or I'm just going to give up now and save myself a lot of time. So I decided at his house that I would just give up. But if I was at my house, I would just be like grinding that for like 8 hours. I will beat this boss, like, eventually.
Sounds like a good sub goal for you, Barra. Like,
True.
Get a certain amount of subs. I'll play Sekiro until this boss, ask Ven or someone who knows. And then it's like, it'll be entertaining. You can't quit. And it'll be fun for everyone. And you'll make a ton of money.
Yeah, actually, the only single player games I played were like, someone said in chat, but it was like Pokemon games, like Game Boy Color and like Game Boy Advance games back then.
Yeah.
And a few, like, I would play like the Call of Duty campaigns and like the Halo CE and Halo 2 campaigns, but even at like Halo 3, I started to get bored of campaigns, and it was just not fun. And Halo Reach, good lord. Don't even get me started.
Dude, I haven't played Infinite's campaign at all. I don't know that I finished 5's campaign. Yeah, Infinite has their campaign, but you can't do online co-op, which is what I wanted to do. And now I think they just said that they're not coming out with any online co-op. Like, it's never coming out. That they're only doing local co-op for Infinite, I think is what they said. I don't know if you know, Pookie, or I know you're kind of tuned into Halo a little bit.
I'm not allowed to speak on the matter. No,
I
think it did get pushed back. But yeah.
Sad.
I'm actually not 100% sure.
Yeah,
that like side of the business couldn't. Yep. Not that I couldn't care less, but like too much stuff to take care about. So I have to care about that stuff.
As Jake said, you got to draw the line somewhere.
That's right.
You just got to draw the line somewhere. All right, Pookie, thanks so much for coming on, man. Really appreciate the time. I was really interested in this discussion, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers and all that kind of stuff will be as well. Wait, Barry, were you gonna say something?
I would say I think it's like our longest episode ever.
It's up there. It's up there for sure. I started thinking about esports being tall versus wide, and it sent my whole brain into a frenzy. I've got to find a way to like focus and do some work after this. But thanks so much for coming on, man. Super excited. You'll be at Worlds, yeah?
I hope so. Here's the inside scoop. We're trying to get in contact with some people you might know, Aggro. Just talk like what would it look like? Like, even if nothing comes, like what does it take to get orgs involved, or like how does that relationship work at a level that works for everyone? So that's the goal. We would love to go have that conversation, because like I said, man, like Smite is where Spacestation Gaming started, and like for me, like this is like it. Like this is my career. Like I'm so invested in this, and so like I have this huge sentimental attachment to Smite and like what it's brought. So like sucks to not be in there. So
yeah,
but like also like from high res side, like dude, you guys got hosed by a lot of orgs that took advantage of like the generosity and like everything, and like just no support from the orgs. So it's just like frustrating from both sides, I bet. So
yeah,
like, and that's something that we're aware of. So like, let's figure out a way to make it work, you know?
Bro, you know I'm rooting for it. I'm here to help facilitate in any way that I can, which is like absolutely nothing anymore. But I'm hoping that you guys can find a way to make it work, and certainly come down to Worlds, because I owe you a drink for sure for coming on here, and like a $200 steak or something like that. BaRRa owes you. He was telling me earlier.
He just owes me a nice plate of pasta.
Yeah, just one nice plate of pasta. That's all he needs. That's all he needs. All right, thanks again, man. Thanks everyone for watching / listening. Remember, our sponsors for this episode were Factor. Go.factor75.com /backliners130 to get $130 off there. And then, of course, mintmobile.com /backliners in order to get premium wireless service for just $15 a month. We'll be back next week with some show, talk about something, and maybe our Patreon will be set up by then, but who knows, honestly. It's a total crap show at this point. Thanks, everyone, for watching last session. And BaRRa, you know what to do.
That was terrible.
Well, you had a good one last week, you know?
Yeah.
You're still
say hi
alive,
to BaRRa's
Pookie?
mom. She said hi in the chat. Oh, no. Did
No,
you turn it off?
Nope. See, I do this thing where I change it to this screen, but our mics are still live. So that's all like behind the scenes sort of feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's not.
BaRRa, you can't just do a second buy just because your first one was bad.
It's pride. I can't. Okay,
Unbelievable.
I'll do it next week. I'll do a better one next week.
Yeah, well, you better hope so, or else Pookie's gonna be coming on the show. He had a good ad read.